I hit to like pause it or?
To stop the recording?
Yeah.
Okay, so we get out of here, go down to Blue Jeans, and stop the view.
Got it. All right.
So then that. That's the one. Full screen. Check the clip. A little spongy.
Jackie, you're doing it next
Yes.
week. What day?
Next week is
Tuesday at 12?
12 to 2.
Putting it on my calendar.
Excellent.
Okay. I'm going to get REDCap certified if it kills me.
Hello, if you could just sign in over here.
There we go.
All right. Hi, my name is Jackie Werner. I'm the Scholarly Communications and Research Librarian. And today we're starting out our month of REDCap. So I mentioned this before, but let's get on the recording. We'll be having 3 REDCap sessions. This one is kind of an introduction to REDCap, just explaining what it is and why you'll want to use it. And, excuse me. Second one is next week, Tuesday from 12 to 2. That's going to be just going through the REDCap tutorial so you can create an account. It's basically exactly the same thing as doing it on your own, but if you prefer being in a group setting, asking questions, or just sitting out 2 hours to actually get it done, that's a good time to do it. Monday in 2 weeks is the last one from 12 to 1, and that is going to be advanced REDCap. Which is just kind of going in deeper, showing tools to do, and also answering any questions that you guys have. All right, so let's start off with PowerPoint explaining what is REDCap. REDCap is a secure open source web application for building and managing online surveys and databases. Now, have any of you used not just REDCap, but like SurveyMonkey or Qualtrics before? Okay, yes, everything's used something. Was it SurveyMonkey or Qualtrics or something else?
I used Qualtrics before. I never used SurveyMonkey.
Okay. So this is pretty similar to Qualtrics, more advanced than SurveyMonkey. And I'll go into why we chose REDCap instead of those. All right. So REDCap can be used for a bunch of different things. One of the best things it's used for is anonymous surveys. So that's same as SurveyMonkey or Qualtrics. Get a URL, sends it out to however many people you want. It can also be used for in-person data collection. Anything that you would have done on paper, or any like lab research where you would just be putting things into Excel. It can also be used for longitudinal research. And that's one of the things that it's really great for. One of the reasons why we chose it over Qualtrics is that it has longitudinal research built into it. So not only can you have a bunch of surveys, like the ones that you want to do at each week that you see someone, you could also actually do the scheduling within REDCap itself. It'll like put it on the calendar, take weekends into account and all that. You can tell it to send out surveys, and it'll tell you, has this person returned, done the survey or responded to an email, etc. It can also be used for internal surveys. We're not limiting this just to research uses. And basically anything else you could think of that involves storing data. There's a bunch of different fields you can create in REDCap. Basically anything that could be done in paper, you could do on here. I'll show you a few examples of these. We have stuff like multiple choice, and that also includes matrix fields. So you could just have at the top, what do you think of this, and then have 5 different choices. It's Likert scales, text fields, and those text fields can also be validated so that it has to have a date, time, phone number, and email in there. They also have upload field, so they can upload say a signed consent form or anything else you need them to upload. Also signatures. So who can use REDCap? Basically anybody at PCOM can. There are different restrictions based on different groups. So faculty, staff, and residents can just create an account after going through the tutorial. Students can also use REDCap, but they do need a faculty or resident sponsor. And what that sponsor has to do is just basically have a REDCap account and say, we sponsor them. They're not limited to only working on projects by that sponsor. And students cannot create their own projects. They will need either a sponsor or another faculty, staff, resident to create them for them. And if you create a survey for a student, you don't actually have to do anything with it. You can just create it and then let the student add everything to it. Just basically so that we have a step of responsibility in there. And last thing is outside collaborators. They work a lot like students. The terms of REDCap say that we basically don't want to be giving access to outside collaborators, to anyone out of PCOM, to create their own studies. So again, if you're working with someone specific on a project, you can sponsor them, bring them in, and assign them to that project. So, why REDCap? There are several reasons. One of the reasons that we chose it is that it's free and open source. So, we like free things because then we could use our library budget on other materials. And the open source it's not technically open source because to use REDCap, you have to be a part of the REDCap consortium. So you have to have like the server to run it and follow some rules with being the ones to provide tech support and so on like that. But it is free to use and it will continue to be free. So we don't have to worry about moving to another system because of price increases or something like that. The next thing is REDCap can be HIPAA compliant. And this is one of the main reasons why we like this over, say, SurveyMonkey. REDCap is designed to be HIPAA compliant, meaning that you can choose the fields that are personal identifiers. And it's really easy to strip them out in a lot of different ways. You could have people that can't access the personal information. You could export all your data without the personal information. You can like scrub out all written comments so that it's only the raw numbers in there. And there's a lot of ways to make sure that what you do is HIPAA compliant. Next thing is scalable user roles. So I mentioned, for instance, not giving some people access to the personal information. The scalable user roles means that for every project you do, you can say exactly who you want to have access to what. So, for instance, you as the PI could have access to everything. You could have data enterers, students who can only enter data but can't edit the fields itself. And you could also make sure that people can't edit data already submitted through surveys. So if you have some surveys submitted from the outside, you could have people be able to add new instances but not go back and change the old ones. There's really a lot of granularity in who has access to what, and you could do this for every project. So you could have someone have access to all of one project that they're working on and then not be able to access any other projects. Next thing is that REDCap protects your data integrity. So there's a lot of tools within REDCap to make sure that your data stays secure and does not have errors in it. So there are two types of REDCap surveys. or two phases. You have development and production. What you're meant to do is in development, create the survey, do a lot of test data, and then you move it to production, and then you start collecting your real data. Once you move to production, it's tougher to change anything in your survey. So if you try to change a question that might and that will mess up the data that you've already entered, you'll be told this when you try to change it. You'll have to either go through a REDCap administrator, or you'll just get an email with what these errors would be, and if you really want to go through with it. There's also a lot of tools you could go through your existing data and check for things like any numbers entered that are out of bounds. You accidentally said someone was 200 years old, it'll catch that. And missing fields that should be required, etc. There's like 11 rules built into this, and you could also add your own rules. So if you don't want anyone under 18 in your survey, you could just add a rule saying, check for age under 18, and it'll find that. The last thing it does, which I mentioned, was it schedules longitudinal events. So you want to do a longitudinal study, you could get everything scheduled in there. There's also ways to do it that don't involve scheduling. So you can have repeatable forms. So basically, like if you're taking notes on an organism every week until it dies, then you could just add a new repeatable form every week, and then not have to schedule out, say, 8 weeks in advance or something. All right, and the way to get to REDCap, if you remember one link, remember redcap.pcom.edu. It's linked on the library page under accounts. If you remember two links, remember libguides.pcom.edu/REDCap. The LibGuide has all of the tutorial videos, and it also has a lot of frequently asked questions. If you have any questions about REDCap, you can either email me, Jacqueline Wee at pcom.edu, JACLYNWE, or you can email redcap at pcom.edu. All right, so that's the introduction of what REDCap is. Before I go into showing you what it actually looks like working with it, do you have any questions about this? All right, so let's take a look at REDCap. All right, let's find there it is. Can I get this go away? Close enough. Okay, so I'm on the library homepage here. And if you go to My Accounts, you'll see REDCap listed under there. All right, here's what you see before you log in. And what you want to see is down here in this gray box. First link is to the REDCap LibGuide. I'll open this in another tab. Second link is a link to the REDCap tutorials. So you'll have to go through these to be able to use REDCap. It's 90 minutes of tutorials. It goes through a lot of stuff, but it's all a really good introduction to just showing you what exactly you could do with REDCap. And the tutorial is actually made in REDCap. So this is a good example as to what a survey looks like. Here we have required fields, first name, last name. It has text. And here we have multiple choice here. And if you select one of the multiple choice options, it pops up another question that only shows if you select that. This email field will actually recognize if it's not a valid email you put in. And then once you submit that, it yells at you for not providing the value for fields that are required. once you actually fill that out and submit it, it'll take you to the first page where you have a video and then a short quiz that isn't graded. So there are 11 videos in the tutorial, and there's a little short quiz after each of them, not graded. And then at the end, there's a quiz that is graded. There are, I think, 20 questions, and you need to get 80% or above. You could take the quiz 6 times, and if you don't get it after 6 tries, just shoot us an email. All right, now let's go into the back end of REDCap and see what that looks like. Okay. All right, let me grab a drink of water here. So this is what it looks like when you log into REDCap. Right now I have a bunch of projects in here, and some I've created myself. Some I have been invited by another creator. So let's actually go to the online tutorial bulk, which is what I just showed you the first screen of. All right, so when you click on this, you go to the project home, which gives you a lot of the quick tasks you're using. Excuse me. Also a list of the current users who are working on it. So in this case, we have 7 different users, and none of them are expiring. And let me go to project setup. Project setup is where you're actually going to be creating the project. And what I'm going to start with, under Design Your Data Collection Instruments and Enable Your Surveys, I'm going to go to the Online Designer. So, Demographic Survey. Here's the first one you see. All right. So this is what the page we just saw looks like on the back end. There's one extra field here that does not show, and that's the record ID. Whenever you start a project, your first record in the first survey has to be a record ID. That's just going to count up from 1 if you don't do anything to it. So every participant has a unique ID. All right. And here I'm going to edit this field. What is your campus or healthcare center? And this is what it looks like in the back end. Field label is where you type in the name, what displays for the question. The choices, you're just going to put a number for each choice as the multiple choice. And you could give it basically any number that you want. It doesn't have to be in order. So you could put the oddball stuff like not viewing for account or other with a high number so that it's separated from the others. Here you could set if it's required or not. You could also say if it's an identifier. So REDCap is not going to automatically get the identifiers, but you just have to set what do you want to consider an identifier. All right, any questions about this? Yes.
If you wanted to remain anonymous, do you have to select, I guess, deselect the identifier for each question, or is it by survey?
So if you want it to be anonymous, you could basically just tell it you could go without actually collecting any identifiers. For instance, what you would do instead of sending a link to like specific emails, you could send it just to a group email, or you could get, and then the link will be what's collected, not the emails that it's sent out to. If you want to make it, if you want to take the identifiers out after the fact, then you would just say this is an identifier, and they'll show you what the options look like to get rid of those. So basically, how this works is that there's 2 different ways that you could collect data. The first one is sending it out as a survey, and the second one is doing it as data entry. Let me show you, for under data collection here, we have survey distribution tools. And what we have right now is a public survey URL. So this is what you want to do if you're collecting something anonymous. You have one link, doesn't change for anyone, so you don't know who's taking it. Yes.
So how does that give like a unique identifier for everybody? Is that where that number comes into play?
It just automatically goes one and counts up.
Okay, and then it just goes to the next one, but you can have the same link. Everybody doesn't have to have their own.
Nope.
Okay.
You can, however, actually set it up so that everybody gets their unique link.
Right.
If you want to be collecting that data and not anonymizing.
Okay.
So it's not collecting IP addresses.
No.
Like, that's what I was thinking of with SurveyMonkey.
Oh, yeah.
Unless you tell it not to. So, okay.
Yeah, it does not automatically do that. And yes, the other thing to do if you're not doing a survey, you would go to just add edit records here. And that lets you do just like generic data entry. So I'm going to add a new record. It gives you all the different surveys, which is a lot in this particular form. But if you click on the status here, then it just lets you enter it. Let me spell my name properly. Jackie Werner. All right, and I'm going to put an incorrect email there. And then it will shoot up an alert for your data enterers. Say it has to be an actual valid email address. Difference between data entry and a survey. Data entry, you have to have a REDCap account to do it. So you're going to have like yourself or student workers doing that. And you can actually bypass the required fields or put in stuff that doesn't fit in the parameters you have. So basically it's, for example, say you put in the parameters for age, you want 18 to 80 years old. If you have a data enterer, enter someone who's 81, it'll pop up and ask them, are you sure? And then if it's not a mistake, then they could just enter the 81. So it's something. So with data entry, you could enter like some unusual stuff. With the survey, it will actually stop them from continuing if they enter something incorrect, for example. All right. Another thing that's great is under form status here. Okay, let's actually enter this so it won't yell at me. All right, form status, incomplete, it's obvious, but you could also choose unverified or complete. Unverified is really nice because you can have multiple people checking your data. So you could have two teams here, like if you're entering something from paper surveys and want to double check the answers, you could have your first person put it as unidentified, second person looks through it and then moves it to complete. There's also a lot of tools for data enterers here under applications. Yes, I don't want to save changes. So here under logging, this actually shows what every user on the study has done. And I believe this is, okay, yes, it does show survey respondents as well as your data enterers. And you could say who can actually view this. But if you're working on a group project, you could have someone say, oh, I made a mistake last week. Can I go back and see what I did? You could go back and see what they did. There's also an option for field comments. If a data enterer has a question about something, they could just put a comment on. Everyone else in the project can see it. And so you could have a collaborative thing going on here without having to just put a post-it, ask about this later. All right, another thing that's nice, under data exports, reports, and stats. So we do encourage that that anything major with statistics be exported. You can export to SPSS, SAS, I think a few other statistics programs, but it's really easy to just export everything you've collected and then just start working on it in SAS. But if you want to take a look at what your data is doing, or just do like simple calculations, counts, averages, something like that, you could go here to reports and exports. So you can actually create reports. And let me go back to project home, now my projects, because I've made some reports on tutorial sample project. All right, reports over here. Let me edit this testing report. So you could basically take selected instruments or any fields you want in a report. You can also filter it. So if you want to quickly look at everybody who said they're in the pharmacy program, I put that in here. You could also have live filters. So if you're showing this off to group and saying, hey, here's look at the difference between these in a live setting, you could just go back and forth. So let me show you what that looks like. I'm going to view that report. And then here we have the data. This is only pharmacy students. And then there's a live filter. Have you been diagnosed with diabetes? So you could look at yes and look at no. And going back to my reports, all data is what you'll probably be using a lot. And if you go to stats and charts, it actually gives you charts for all of the basically all of the non-text questions. So here we have multiple choice looks like. Then we have a scale over here. And these aren't very impressive because it has like 6 at the most. But once you're actually adding real data, you're going to get a nice view of what it looks like. You could also download images. So you could just stick them into an email or even an actual paper. You can't really make these look pretty though. You can change from bar chart to pie chart. But if you're doing anything that's going to be published, you're probably going to want to do it in a stats program or even Excel. All right. Another really good thing about REDCap is that there are 2 stages to each to a study. One is when you're in production, the first one is in development, second one is production. So what you're meant to do is in development, do all the changes, then you move it to production and start collecting real data. Once you move it to production, it's harder to make any changes to it. Like I mentioned, you'll get thrown up a warning if you try to change anything that would ruin your existing data. And also every change that you make after it's moved to production is logged in that logging tool. And you can collect data while you're still in development, which is what you want to do for test data. Either you just use the public survey link, which won't change at all, or you could just go to Add Edit Records and then put in some test data. Once you move it to production, it'll ask you, do you want to keep this or keep all the test data or not? Okay, so that's the basics of what using REDCap looks like. Do you guys have any questions or something in particular that you'd like to do? Yes.
You mentioned that we can use REDCap for longitude, but if we had started a study on SurveyMonkey, but we'd like to do the subsequent studies or questionnaires, how difficult is it to export the data from SurveyMonkey, and would I have to remake the questionnaire on REDCap, or can we
believe that you could import it without much issue. Let's see. All right. So here you could get a data import template for actually getting the data. So what it does is just shows what your data dictionary will look like. Just disappeared. And then you could just copy paste the data in there. I believe you could actually just import the survey into here. Let me go to new project over here. So you can have if you have a REDCap project XML file, it is a vendor neutral format. So you should be able to export SurveyMonkey data in this format and get it into here.
But how about the actual question?
Yeah, I think what you might have to get the questions and the data separately, but I think it'll be able to work. I'm not positive because I haven't used SurveyMonkey to actually export from there and try it myself. But yeah, this format is meant to export between different formats. So should be able to get it. Also Qualtrics should be the same idea. Oh yes, there's one other nice thing I want to point out. Let me go to a sample project here. And I want to go to Online Designer. When you're adding a new instrument, you can create it from scratch. And you could also upload an instrument zip file from another project. So that should be another way to get something into REDCap. But here, if you click Import from the REDCap shared library, here there's over 2,000 studies, and a lot of these have red stars next to them, which means that they're a curated instrument. What this means is that these instruments are free to use for the public, and they've been vetted so that they're exactly the same as the original version of the survey. So, if you search for, let's say, depression, then the instrument that you want to use may already be in here. Here we have Hamilton Depression Rating Scale, gives the description about it, the information. And if you click Import into my REDCap project, it tells you exactly what the license agreement means. So, for example, this one, it says you can't charge for it, can't permit others to use it, etc. But, so if there are existing instruments that you're using, it might actually be in the shared library already, which makes it a lot easier than just having to enter it in by hand. All right. Any more questions about this? Yes.
For longitudinal studies, do you recommend that we do the analysis over time or actually use SPSS?
Generally, anything complicated, you want to use SPSS. Yeah, it'll be easily exportable into SPSS, so you have all your data in there. But REDCap is not meant to do any sort of complex like modeling or statistics. All right, so probably the best way to start learning REDCap is just go in, take the tutorial, and start playing around with it. There's an option to create a project that's practice / just for fun. And that's a really good way to just kind of learn what you can do with it. One of the most common issues is that you don't have to move a project to production before you start doing practice data. If you choose your project to be a survey, which means something you're going to be giving a link out to the public, you could just click on the public survey link and take it from there. If you're not doing a survey, just click add or edit a new record, and then you could enter it just as data entry. So we really recommend doing that to like test things out before you move something to production and actually start it. And if you have any questions, please feel free to email me or redcap@pcom.edu. We're learning how to do this along with you guys, so any questions that you have, we want to know. If it's something that's not clear in our instruction, we can fix that. And if it's something that we haven't thought about, then we'll know how to do it for the next. All right. Any more questions? Yes.
So Jack, before the next session, should we do the online tutorial, or is that what we're gonna do it here? Like, should we just bring a
Yes.
laptop the next time?
The next session is the online tutorial,
Okay.
and it's actually in the database room on the second floor of the library. So we have computers for you. You can bring your laptop for that.
We can create an account before doing that.
You do need to do the tutorial to create an account.
Or
If
so we
you-
can have it do it before.
If you can do it before if you don't feel like just sitting in a room with other people and watching videos. But yeah, it's really
So
up
it's
to
better to
you.
go there to start from next Tuesday.
Yeah,
Okay.
whatever works for you. If you prefer being in a group to motivate you, get it done, ask questions,
Uh-huh.
then definitely go. All right.
So I want to make sure I understand. So this is personally like a Unix or REDCap. So this is more like a program you can use it to collect the data of your own data,
Yes.
or you can extract from the internet from the like public domain
Yes.
and put it here and use it as a program to analyze the data.
So that you're going to want to, if you're analyzing data, you're going to want to use SPSS or other statistical software. You
So it
can
can serve as a tool to collect data from the public domain or like the library or
that not really.
not really.
You would want to,
But
yeah,
let's
you
say
would
you,
want.
you feel like that, or you feel like depression and a lot of data come out.
Oh yeah. So that doesn't actually get the data. That gets the survey itself.
So does mean that's something you did before or something by the
It's
data
like-
for you?
It's like it's an existing published survey, but not like data that's been collected from that survey. If you want to find stuff like that, there's a lot of basically internet resources that we can help you find out there. And I might actually do a talk on that because that's a really
Okay,
good
so
good
REDCap
topic.
is not that kind of program.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
really mostly meant for collecting your own data.
Okay, I see this. Yeah, I would really want to find something can do that. Get it from the internet, something that already exists but don't not in my hand. It's by using that program to extract from public domain and use it for analysis.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a program for that. I just basically know some places that you can go out and search that have a lot of data listed already.
Right.
Like there's databases, you have the government databases.
Like NIH has database
Yeah.
for the genomic research,
Yeah.
something like that.
And there's also databases that are like library databases where you usually get articles, but they just have like published data.
Mhm. Okay.
Jackie,
Yes.
if there are other instruments that our survey users would want to import but that are not currently available, is that something that we can pursue, like to try to get? I don't know. Well, what is the option to add surveys or instruments to this database
So
if they're not already there?
you can recommend that they be, there you go. There's a link suggest a validated instrument for library inclusion. The one issue is that it does have to be free to use. So a lot of surveys out there are just going to be, it's going to be a little harder because there are use issues. You have to pay a fee or get written permission from the person. But it is, it is definitely worth going in here. And then REDCap will look into, is this instrument a good fit for the shared library? The other option is just once you look up the terms of use yourself, you can just like manually enter it into REDCap. And then if you wanted help to make sure it's the same as the printed instrument, you could send it to us to take a look at it. All right. Anything else? Okay, have a good
Thank you.
day. And I hope I'll see some of you next week and or the week after that.